Welcome to the Constitutional Candidate Series. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing and interviewing Josh Barnett, a candidate running for Congress in Arizona. He has a great story, one that we're going to be asking him about in terms of his professional life, some stuff that he went through during the COVID lockdowns, and we're going to ask him some questions about, about his candidacy, about his how the campaign is going, how the fundraising is going, his ability to win, and also we're going to ask him some questions, about the issues and the hard issues, and then we're going to determine, as a PAC and those of you watching, we'll determine whether or not we want to support you in the campaign and support your candidate. Because look, there are lots of candidates running, and we want to make sure that we have the best constitutional candidates that we can find. And so we're going to ask you some tough questions. I hope you're okay with that, Josh. And I also, I'd also like to invite you to tell everybody about your background.
Sure. Yeah. Like you said, my name is Josh Barnett. I'm running for United States Congress here in District 7, Arizona. I'm a business owner. I've owned gyms, 6 of them from scratch for the past about 16 years. And as you know, we've gone through a rough spell around the country, and I co-own a gym in Oceanside, California as well. And my business partner actually is running for mayor of Oceanside now. So he got to a point where he's fed up as well. I've been through this. So I understand what people go through when they start a business. I understand what it is when people are employed and depend on you. To put food on their table, take care of their kids, and everything else. So I do have a lot of empathy for the people that are out there right now.
So tell me, obviously there was some situation where you were locked down and you couldn't open your gym, and your governor, who's a Republican, I say that biting my tongue. He's a Republican governor, But quite frankly, he didn't necessarily support you as a business owner, and so tell me about what happened and what you did.
Sure. Yeah, we had the first shutdown. I decided to be a good Republican and go along with it. It was a struggle because when I looked at the numbers, it didn't add up to me. A lot of things weren't adding up to me. I was pretty vocal about it as well. I basically told him this will never happen again. So I got with a good friend of mine. His name is David Jose. He's a constitutional expert, I consider him. And he's also an expert on private membership associations, or PMAs for short. And we kind of had a plan set because I knew he was going to do this again. And we had a plan set that Tuesday afternoon, he basically shut gyms down, bars, restaurants, the whole deal again, like I anticipated. And we had the PMA set, the paperwork set. So we did the articles of organization that evening. I had all my membership agreements completely changed and overhauled. Everything was ready. I opened up 5 a.m. That evening at 9 p.m. I opened my gym as a private membership association. So we moved the business from the public to the private. And by doing so, we have a law here, ARS 36217. And anyone can look it up if you're familiar with it. Basically, the first part of it says that you are it's a misdemeanor. You're gonna get fined every single time you're open. Every day that you're open, you're gonna get fined and cited, as you've seen around the country. But they always kind of hide the second part from you. And the second part, I'll paraphrase it. And the second part says you're going to when you operate in the private, you do not have to abide by the governor's order, basically. And so I moved my business into the private as an association, and I decided to exercise my right not to participate in his emergency order any longer.
And so what did the governor do next?
Well, the governor didn't do anything to me. I made it very, I was very, like I said, I was pretty upset about what was going on, especially from a Republican governor. And I think that's what, kind of pushed me even harder was the fact that he was a Republican governor doing what he was doing. When I compared us to, Governor Noem and some other DeSantis and other governors around the country with what was being done. But, I wasn't bothered. I wasn't bothered at all. I think they knew what I was doing. They figured it out. I sent notices. I sent affidavit notices out to everybody: the governor, the Attorney General Brenovich, the mayor, police chief, everybody. I told them exactly what I was doing, and I gave them 72 hours to respond and let me know. If you think I'm wrong, then let me know. And I didn't hear a response back. I didn't expect one. And I then reached out after I kind of like tried it on myself here and to make sure everything is running smoothly. I then reached out to other gym owners around the country that I know and reopened. We're over 50 facilities now in the country that are reopened, including New Jersey and California. So some of these harder states that were hit, we got them reopened, and they're a great story to tell. I do have a few people out there that I reached out to. I wish they would listen to me, but they're too busy listening to their attorneys, and they continue to keep losing. So it's unfortunate, but I'm hoping they come around, and especially with the governor speaking or kind of combining the flu with COVID now, and his address yesterday to the people. I'm hoping they come around and move into the private and protect themselves. I don't want to see anybody fail, especially due to a tyrannical order.
Well, it sounds like you had a good strategy, and I appreciate that you let other gym owners, other business owners know. And quite frankly, there are other businesses that have been shut down in this lockdown that don't have the luxury of converting to an association. And a luxury, I call it a brilliant strategy, but it's still a luxury. And those businesses are suffering terribly, restaurants and bars and lots of other businesses. And standing up and saying, we're not going to take it, and we're going to stay open is something that you should be proud of. And I assure that's why you decided to run for office.
It's definitely one of the many reasons. I felt like a lot of conservatives out there, constitutionalists feel our federal government has outgrown itself. I do believe that the issues need to go back to the states, quite a few of them, and I'll do anything I can to stick with the federal government was supposed to be doing. And it's laid out in the Constitution. The enumerated powers of Congress are laid out, and we've completely overstepped those boundaries over the last decade after decade. We've repeatedly done this.
Got it. So let me ask you a couple of questions about the Constitution and how you apply them in your life. Is your gym a gun-free zone?
My gym is not a gun-free zone. My gym is for anybody. You have your freedom of choice. You can wear a mask. You can choose to wear one or not. I have people that carry all the time. They have, I believe in protecting yourself at all times, especially in this crazy world that we're in today. And I do have I have a lot of police officers at my gym. Oddly enough, the only time I had cops come in my gym were to come sign up and be a part of it.
Well, that's fantastic, and I appreciate that it's not a gun-free zone, because lots of businesses, they are afraid of what the government is going to hold you liable for, what people will hold you liable for, and you've got allowing people to carry in your gym is a good sign, and it's telling me that this conversation is going to go well. So you're a supporter of the Second Amendment, I'm assuming.
Yeah, 100%. And also by operating in the private, you have even more, I guess, liberty outside what the state can tell you to do. So there is some advantages as well as far as the rules that you set within your walls.
Oh, absolutely. And so, Second Amendment, how do you feel about hate speech? Should hate speech be regulated?
It's a fine line. It's a fine line. I honestly don't feel. I think you should be able to say what you want. I feel if it's to the point where it's inciting violence, and it's doing something like that, I think we need to maybe address it at that point. But I think if somebody wants to say, "Hey, I hate white people," okay, I don't have a problem with that. That's your opinion. That's your choice. That's your constitutional right to say what you want. But there's a difference between saying something like that and also inciting violence, which are two separate things.
You're 100%. You're 100% right. And there are laws in the books. You can't scream fire in a crowded theater.
Yes.
But inciting violence, is also kind of a gray matter, because what you've heard from the Democrats, recently, and especially during these riots in the last couple of days, is that it's Trump's fault, that the violence and the riots are Trump's fault, because he's inciting them because I guess they don't like him. and
Yeah.
because they don't like him, and everything he says incites them to violence. And now under those rules, that hate speech is essentially, or that speech that's inciting is now a matter of interpretation. So
Yeah.
where would you fall on that type of speech?
Well, I believe we should always, for me, I always err on the freedom of speech. I always err on that side. I do believe that, what they're doing with President Trump, they're looking for any excuse to loot, riot, burn, wherever they're at. And, you can't point a finger at a certain thing with anything President Trump has said that I would consider anything remotely close to hate speech. If somebody's coming out and they're directly saying, I'm going to go do something bad to this person, or I'm going to go set this building on fire, I would consider that something that maybe the police should look into. But outside of a direct comment like that, I think if it's an opinion, I think you're entitled to that, and you should be able to say what you want.
Now, this election has been a lot about law and order.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's riots going on all over the country. There's issues with, there's issues like Black Lives Matter, police reform, defund the police, which are all being spearheaded by the leftists in all the cities across Democratic-run cities all across the country. Well, first of all, there are some issues that the Democrats bring up: police reform, defund the police. Where do you stand on these issues? And some issues that are important to me are Fourth and Fifth Amendment issues. Where do you stand on with the police? And does there need to be reform?
I believe there probably does need to be reform. I do not believe in defunding the police at all, and not only me, but 80 to 83% of Latinos and Black Americans do not want the police defunded, and they actually would rather see an increase in police in their neighborhoods. So that false narrative that is being pushed by the left is completely wrong. The reform that I look at is maybe in the hiring process. There's many different things we can look at, the training stuff that we see going on, but they're very, as we know, there's split second decisions being made by these cops, and like President Trump said earlier today, I was watching, you have thousands and thousands of great decisions being made, and then you have that one that turns out to be like the Blake situation. And it's a tough situation, and we just need to wait. I think the problem is too, our media exacerbates this situation by going after people, going after ideologies that they don't have all the facts. They don't have all the facts of the case, and we're learning more and more and more about that particular situation. That a cop last night shot a guy in L.A. They had all these riots out there, but then it came out to be that the guy was concealing a handgun underneath some clothes and actually punched a cop in the face. So, we got to wait till all the facts come out before the people take to the streets and loot, steal, arson, and everything else that's going on. It's unfortunate, but I believe that there is always need for reform. And no matter what, even in business, you adapt to the situations, kind of like I did, and you kind of reform what you're doing. You look at what you're doing. How can I make this better? And I think that's something that could be done. And it's something that makes perfect sense to me, logical way of looking at things. And Senator Tim Scott had the Justice Act that he brought forth, and when I read through it, it's just a very common sense approach to what could be done to help the situation. And Pelosi and Schumer just tabled it; they didn't even take a look at it. So we have this extreme partisanship, where this polarization that's not allowing anything to be done. And that's why I honestly believe that this election is so important, that we take the House back, that we retain the Senate and get President Trump in there so we can actually do what's best for this country, put all the political nonsense to the side and do what's best.
Great. Are you pro-life or pro-choice?
I'm pro-life.
Good. Why?
Yeah. What happened to me, I was like a lot of younger people coming up, you got lied to quite a bit about what it was. By the Planned Parenthood propaganda that's out there. But and actually a friend of mine sent me an abortion video, probably about 15 years ago or so, 15, 16 years ago. And I watched it and I was immediately just sick to the core of what I saw when you realize what it really is. And ever since then, I've been, pro-life from the get-go, and I always kind of have been. I was raised Catholic, and I'm a Catholic. We attend Mass every Sunday, so that mindset was always kind of instilled in me. But after watching that video, I have, people want to come at me and say, "Oh, you can't say what a woman's health or women's rights," and I there's a lot of arguments I can make against that.
And I certainly appreciate that. We are a pro-life organization. Won't support anybody who's not pro-life.
Oh, yes.
And being from my state, where our governor, which again we call blackface baby killer, the governor, of course, said that he would actually after the baby was born, the doctor and the mother should decide whether or not the baby should live. I mean, that's the mentality of the other side.
Yeah,
and
that's just crazy. When Northam said that, I was in disbelief, yet I wasn't, because I almost expect it from that side, from the stuff I hear. And not only that, you remember when they passed what I call the infanticide bill in New York, they lit up buildings, they were clapping and cheering. And it was like, is this real life? Are we really watching this right now? And they're cheering infanticide. But people don't understand. Even my mom yesterday, I was talking to her about it. And I told her, Mom, you understand these people are just evil. I don't know how else to explain it. They're just flat out evil. And I told her what happened in New York. She's, no, there's no way. I go, I've been telling you for years how this side works. I sent her a video and she couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe it. And I told her, I honestly don't understand how any Christian in particular, any Christian, Catholic, anybody who believes in God, can vote Democrat these days based on what they stand for. And that's just one of the many reasons that I feel that way.
Again, we're on the same page there. Tell me about your district and your opponent. What do you see as the important issues to the folks in your district?
Well, Ruben Gallego is the incumbent. We are polar opposites on pretty much everything. The major issues in District 7 here is immigration. Of course, anywhere in Arizona, immigration is going to be an issue. The amount of human trafficking, the child sex trafficking, that goes on the border, obviously drugs, guns. We had Fast and the Furious out here with Mr. Holder and that whole situation as well. Between immigration, school choice is big in my district. And then, the economy and jobs, especially now, what can we do to bring that vibrant economy that we had back? And those are the three major issues here with my people that I've spoken with. And from both sides, from Democrats to Republicans, they're all the same issues. They might be different orders for some people, but those are the main issues here.
You mentioned child trafficking, and you're one of the few candidates that actually have that on their page as an issue. What are you doing? What will you do as a member of Congress to combat child trafficking? And people assume that you're on the border so that kids are being trafficked into the country. Do you see any issues where kids are being trafficked within the country?
Yes, definitely within the country, and also back across the southern border. They're kidnapping kids here and taking them south, and then they are dispersed throughout the rest of the world at that point. The one thing we can do here, and it more of a state issue than anything, but we need due process back in these courts. And the reason I say that is that CPS or DCS, wherever you live, it's a different, it's called something differently. But out here, I'll say CPS. I think most people know it as that, Child Protective Services. 88% of kids saved from human trafficking go through our foster care services. So there's obviously a direct correlation. There's something wrong there. There's something not clicking. And the problem is due process in the courts. If a kid is removed from the home here in Arizona, there's no due process. I call it a CP. There's one CPS judge that makes the decision, and 99.94% of the time, the kid is taken from the home. Now, when we used to have due process in these courts, only 13% were taken. That means the jury looked at this and said, that's a frivolous thing that happened. We don't feel the parents are that terrible to take their kid. Give the kids back to the parents. So it went from 13 to what, 0.06, percent that the kids are removed. So that difference there, what it was is it's monetarily incentivized from top to bottom. It's $1 billion industry here in Arizona. You have 700 to 1,000 kids taken from CPS every month, which is 2.5 times the national average.
Wow.
So I find it
taken into trafficking is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's leading to trafficking. It is. There's a direct correlation, and it is leading to that as part of the problem. The other major part of the problem is controlling our border. President Trump has been trying to do that from day one. I've been in full support of it. Whatever we have to do, whether comprehensively, it's not just the wall, but it's the comprehensive approach that he's taking. The wall is part of that. So you have ground penetrating radar, we have sensors, we have cameras. It allows Border Patrol time to get to the issue, of somebody coming. It eliminates, the cartels are making billions of dollars on our border. And, I've had, as you know, there's some congressmen that have asked to declare the cartel as a terrorist organization as well. And I think that might be necessary if we have to control our border and protect our kids here.
It's so important. It's so important. And there are, and it's a problem that keeps getting worse, like you said, because there's money in it.
Yes.
And the kids are being, not only the kids in America, but the kids are being trafficked from Central and South America and brought into America.
Yes.
Into sexual slavery and different things like that. So I appreciate that. That's a core issue of yours, and that sounds like it's a real problem in your district. And I do hope that that you are elected and you can do something about it. The other question I have is on the border. And you obviously have, you're in a town where, like you said, the Fast and Furious happened, right? That's in your district. Yeah. Brian Terry was a Border Patrol officer who was killed during Fast and Furious. I happen to know their family pretty well, helped them out and hosted their websites for a number of years. And actually on my Facebook page, my personal one, I'm not changing this banner until there's justice for Brian Terry. So it is something that is very, very important for me, and important to me, rather, is that we actually get justice for Brian Terry. And there are lots of other things that have slipped through the cracks of justice because your name ends with Clinton or your name ends with Holder. And obviously you saw what happened with all of the stuff with the Russia collusion nonsense. Yes. As a member of Congress, when you win your office, what are you going to do to hold powerful Democrats accountable when many of your predecessors and many members of Congress in the Republican Party have failed to do so?
Well, that's a loaded question, and I'm on the same page as you with everything that, especially the Brian Terry situation. It seems that we have a two-tier justice system, right? It's very clear that is the case. And, we have Attorney General Barr, who I like, and then obviously Mr. Durham doing his work. Problem is, it's been 4 years, and we've seen one guilty plea by Kleinsmith, who changed an email saying that Carter Page did not work for the CIA. That's all they've done. And when you look at that, and I do see congressmen fighting. I do see them fighting. I see Jim Jordan and you name some of the top guys that were going after these people. But you have to keep the pressure on. But we have to have that accountability is only going to come from the DOJ to really hold these people accountable. But we've had senators, we've had congressmen. We're control of the Senate, as you know. And we've had, I won't name names, we've had certain senators saying for years how they're going to subpoena people, we're going to get them to come in and talk. And every time I hear that, I'm just thinking, oh, here it is again, just not lip service and no action. And sure enough, they don't bring him in to speak. They don't bring him in to talk. They don't hold anybody accountable. You know, the Senate Intel Committee could have held their own investigation. They haven't done anything. And they defer it like, well, we're going to let Durham finish his investigation. You know, it's like, well, what did you do 3 years ago? You know, 4 years ago when this all happened and you knew it was happening. And it's very frustrating to watch, but we need people in office that are gonna continue to fight and hold people accountable. And that's one thing I've seen. For whatever reason, they're backing off, or they get close and they kind of tap the brakes instead of hitting the gas pedal. And I'm not the type to tap the brakes. I believe if you believe in something and you're right, then you see it all the way through to the end.
Well, in that vein, are you willing to stand up to your own party?
Yeah, I am. Because what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And it doesn't matter, you know, what party you're in. To me, if you're wrong, you're wrong. And that's just flat out what I believe in. And I have, you can ask, I got friends, good buddies of mine I've had for a long time. But you know, if I'm right about something, they know that I'm going to let them know about it, you know. But we're going to have a good conversation. You know, we're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to explain to them why I feel the way I do. And you know, but even in that account, the party to me, in certain instances, are kind of thrown out the window when you're talking about doing the right thing.
Well, I believe wholeheartedly in Congress, the root of all evil is the chief of staff. A lot of people talk about term limits for members of Congress, but it's actually not the members of Congress. It's the lifetime career staffers who run that place and who get in the ear of members of Congress. And a lot of folks like you come into Congress full of piss and vinegar, and then they get a chief of staff, you know, or they fill their staff, you know, as you know, as Trump did. You know, quite frankly, Trump did this, where he got in and he hired swamp creatures, and you know, he wondered why it took them so long to drain the swamp. It's because they liked the swamp. So I'm going to ask you to commit to the audience here that you won't hire the swamp if you're elected.
Oh, absolutely not. I can't stand the swamp. I can't stand the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. And I'm definitely, you know, remember, I'm an outsider. I'm a true outsider. And I purposely over the years have stayed out of politics, out of the Republican Party in a way, because I always had a plan to run, and I didn't want to have anybody have anything hanging over me, feel I owe anybody any favors. And then so when I decided to jump into this race, you know, over a year ago, and make a run at Ruben Gallego, I felt like I had a clean run and a clean conscience to go after people, and I could bring my own people in with me along the way, and not hire like you said, the swamp creature bureaucracy of Washington D.C. And you know, maybe I'll be a little standalone, maybe, but I'm not going there to make friends. You know, I'm going there to get results. And I very much have an approach similar to President Trump's, you know, which is as a business. You know, I want results, and I'm not coming here necessarily to make friends. Now, I will make lots of friends, I'm sure. You know, I have a lot of people in the Republican Party that have a very similar mindset as me as far as being conservative, a constitutionalist, and sticking to your guns. But I'm going there to get things done. I'm not going there to be there for 2-3 terms like Ruben and accomplish absolutely nothing.
Good. So, who are you going to vote for as Speaker of the House, or Majority Leader in the House of Representatives?
You know,
minority.
I know. I hate to go against the president, so you know, I know he loves McCarthy, and I think he's a good man. I think he's a good guy. And to be honest with you, I kind of get the feeling that he's been there a little too established for me in D.C. Where I prefer people like Jim Jordan. I prefer people like that that are getting in there, rolling up their sleeves, and going after and doing the right thing. And I see him doing that. You know, I see myself as a version of that. And you know, you see guys very outspoken, even like Matt Gaetz and guys like that have been the newer guys in office that have been fighting. I do like McCarthy, and I know the president has supported him. and I don't have anything against him. I prefer somebody who's been there a little, not quite as long, and has that fighting spirit.
Well, we saw how disastrous the Paul Ryan
Yes.
reign as Speaker of the House was. I mean,
Yes.
he worked against. We had the Senate, the House, and the presidency, and we couldn't get funding for the wall.
Yeah.
Trump's main promise. We couldn't overturn Obamacare.
Yeah.
You know, because the Republicans, when they had nothing to gain or nothing to lose or no risk, they voted out Obamacare when Obama was president for many times, and when they actually had the opportunity to get rid of it, they didn't. Which tells you that they wanted it, or at least that group of Republicans did. I do know that there are a new group of Republicans, and Trump has definitely shifted the Republicans and taught them how to fight. And McCarthy, who has been a little bit of a establishment type of candidate, has even himself learned how to fight from President Trump. So that part is good to see.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I wasn't a fan of Paul Ryan and everything that happened there as well. And we all know who the deciding vote for Obamacare was, or to keep it. And I wasn't happy with our representation in Arizona with that one.
Absolutely. So, how does your district feel about President Trump?
It's a heavily Democrat district. It's kind of like your stereotypical big city, that we see, these blue cities that are around. But this election, especially since what's happened the last, since January, there's a lot of people paying attention, a lot more than normal. These people that would normally vote Democrat no matter what are really paying attention to what's going on, and they're seeing, I guess, the president, we're exposing them for what they are. And they're seeing stuff that's happening that they never experienced before. So that JFK Democrat they see is no longer here. They're a socialist movement, and I've had a lot of Democrats come up to me and say, I was always a Democrat. I'm a moderate, and what I see happening right now, I cannot vote Democrat. And I'm glad you're running, because now there's finally an option in Arizona in this district, because it's been abandoned by the Republican Party. I mean, in 2018, not one Republican, nobody even challenged him. So, I've had a lot of people in the district that I try to speak outside the echo chamber as much as possible, and I try to get a feel for the independents, which actually there's more independents than Democrats in my district. And a lot of the independents are leaning right with what's going on. They want law and order. They don't like what they're seeing from these Democrat-controlled cities and mayors and governors and city councils, for that matter. They're seeing even how the voting is going here in Phoenix with the Democrat city council and mayor. And it's definitely working in our favor as Republicans or conservatives into this election. And I really feel that there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to win back this House. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, it's an important race too, because not only do you have the your district and winning your race and competing in deep blue areas, which I think is very important. But Arizona is going to be a swing state according to most of the polls. And so, the fact that you're fighting there to earn votes will win votes for Trump at the top of the ticket. And so it's, I want to make that point, because it is important, for people to support campaigns that, look like they don't have a shot, because there are miracles. And quite frankly, this is the year of a political realignment where these numbers don't mean as much. Because there are Republicans who are voting for Biden, and there are a lot of Democrats who are turning towards Trump and towards the Republican ticket. And so what are you doing to reach out, not only to your base voters, and to get them motivated to come out and vote for you, but what are you doing to reach out across the aisle as well?
Well, what we're doing right now is we're we got the ground game moving. We're getting out, we're knocking doors, and not Republican doors per se, but we're going after those independents and those moderate Democrats. We can tell by their voting record if they have a little conservative push to them. I'm reaching out to them and I'm telling them, here's the difference between me and Ruben. And when I show them what they believe in, like, here's three topics. What do you believe in? Do you believe that a fanicide's okay? They're usually, no, that's crazy. And I'm like, well, Ruben thinks that's okay. The Democrat Party, and I'll talk about the Born Alive Act that they won't vote on. It's been pushed through 80 plus times. And when they're misinformed, they're ill-informed in the district. So the education of going out and talking to them and explaining to them what the party stands for, what Ruben stands for, it really opens their eyes up. So it's a lot of just good old-fashioned hard work and hitting the streets and talking to people. But we also have a big push now with Google ads and social media and stuff that you're going to be seeing here starting this week to make a hard push coming into, because we start voting here October 7th in Arizona.
Good. And the Democrats are pushing for mail-in ballots. How do you feel about this all mail-in ballot?
It should absolutely not happen. I honestly believe that we should be voting in person with a voter ID. I've been pushing for voter ID for years. We've had plenty of time to get something passed here, even at the state level, to help eliminate some of the stuff that's happening. Instead they pass a ballot harvesting bill that has no teeth in it. There's not even a penalty for it. They're just basically telling you a little slap on the wrist. You should not ballot harvest. It does absolutely nothing. It's going to continue to happen. We have a Democrat recorder here, Agent Fontes, who, has shown over the years he's about as crooked as they come when it comes to being in charge of Maricopa County's, voting process. So we need to, but I tell people all the time, even if you got mail-in ballot or absentee ballot, this election in particular, go vote in person and make sure that it goes through and keep track of it, because the Democrats are obviously trying to do something. And this push for a mail-in ballot and using COVID as a reason, as a joke, and even Fauci came out, Ian Burks came out and said, if you have a mask on, you're social distancing, there's no reason you can't go in person. So we actually have a vote in person push here that we're using here with a lady who's in charge of the election integrity project that we work with Judicial Watch. And we call it Vote in Person, VIP, Vote in Person. And we're letting Republicans know, get up off your couch and go vote in person and make sure that it's done properly.
Absolutely. You think there's going to be a problem with illegals voting in this election in your district?
I think there's definitely a strong possibility. And my district as well, but all over the country. The other thing with mail-in ballots you've seen, there's been tens of millions of ballots over the last, 4 elections that weren't even counted. So that's what I tell people, if you really want your vote to count, go in person and make sure it's done properly the best you can. And I feel that, cutting off the number of hands that are touching your ballot is going to help that situation.
So, we have this powerful unelected force. A lot of us conservatives call it the deep state. Yeah. Do you believe in the deep state? And if elected, what are you going to do to combat it?
I believe there is a deep state. I really believe there is. I believe there's a lot of the problems, like with the deep state that we call, it's always the money. It's always follow the money. And when you look at these donors, you look at these lobbyists that are pushing certain agendas. It's easy to get compromised, whether it's financially or if you get Epsteined. Like some. So they're very tricky and they're very good at what they do, and they compromise people. And I can clearly see when somebody's compromised. I see somebody go into office fighting, then all of a sudden they're decommitted, or all of a sudden they just get real quiet. They don't say anything for a while. Well, they either got bought off or compromised in some way. And that's one thing that I'm going into this whole situation very aware of, to not allow that to happen, to accept money from sources that I believe in, and to not put myself in any situation that's going to allow that to happen.
Good. What committees would you seek if you were to get elected?
No, honestly, I have so many interests that I would work with the party to see where they feel that they need the most help or where they feel I would fit the best. but I honestly I don't have anything in particular, but I have so many different interests that when I get in there, like I said, I want to get results. I want to get things done, and whatever they feel that I would fit best in is what I would work with to start with.
A lot of times, committee assignments are picked or
Yeah.
selected based on how willing you're willing to get along to go along. Would you be willing to compromise some of your issues, some of your values, to get on the right committee?
No, I'd rather not be on a committee at that point, because I'm not gonna give up what I stand for, what I believe in, for anybody. And like I said, I only answer to God. So and President Trump, because you got to respect your president and what he's doing, and that's why he motivated me to run in a way, not in the sense that I saw him fighting everybody. I saw him fighting the media. I saw him fighting the Democrats, obviously. I saw him fighting the weaponization of the CIA, the DOJ, the FBI, the IRS, everything in the kitchen sink thrown at him. And he kept fighting, and he still fights. And that motivates me, that we have somebody in office that is not going to give up on America and its ideals and values just because he's scared or because he's afraid of what might happen. He's every day he's out there doing it, and that really motivates me to keep moving forward.
You're a businessman. How do you like the fundraising part of being a candidate?
I hate the fundraising part of it. And I hate it because I was raised and taught to work for your money. And it's odd for me to feel like I'm asking people for money or asking for help like that. And but now I have a different outlook, because I'm not asking for their help from me. I'm asking for their help to make this a better America, because I'm going to go in and do the right thing and get things pushed and agendas and ideologies pushed that are going to help this country as a whole. And that's how I look at it now. So it is a little easier going out and talking to people, about, hey, open up your checkbook, give me what you can afford and help me win this race.
And for those listening, look, every incumbent starts with a war chest of money. But money doesn't win elections, votes do.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to financially compete with your opponent?
No, I don't think so. But I never planned on it. I knew he had $1 million in his account, $1.5 million at all times. He has access to George Soros, that kind of money as well. So I never intended to. But what I do want to beat him on is ideas. I want to beat him on ideas and solutions. And we need enough money to get out and let people know what my message is, because I feel if we let the masses know what my message is compared to his, that we can win.
Good. And like I said, you've already got a ground game going, right?
Yeah, we got people out hitting the streets. We got signs, on every street corner, every intersection in the city. I got 4 right across from Ruben Gaga's office, so I made sure those got put in properly. If I can't have a little fun, it'll get a little boring for me, a little too serious all the time. I have a tendency to be a little too serious when it comes to politics, because it is a serious game, But we do have the stereotypical stuff out there, the signs, the street signs. But my main focus right now is, like I said, hitting the masses, and that's where, working the internet and different stuff like that. I got a media team helping, with that as well.
One more question, and this is important because, look, why we're doing this is we want to give donors, people who give to these campaigns and give to the party and give to Trump and give to the state parties a reason, and a little more than just, hey, I'm the Republican, give me cash. A good reason why they should support you. So please make your last pitch. Why should our donors, why should our PAC support your campaign?
Well, if you believe in pro-life, if you're pro-life and you believe in saving babies, if you believe in having a controlled border, if you believe in school choice and having that option as a parent, if you're pro 2A, if you believe in the freedom of speech, then I'm the guy for you. I'm the candidate for you. I wholeheartedly believe that, and I will never stop fighting. That's not my nature. I'm an ex college football player. I don't like losing, and it's not the matter of losing. It's just that I'm willing to work and work and work and work until the job's done, until we get the result we want. And I'm I'm relentless in a way when that concerned. Much like President Trump, but he's very relentless. I feel I'm very similar to that. One thing, I'm going to find a way to get it done, much like I did when my business was closed. I found a way to get it open, and not only get it open, but help others get open. And it's not about just me. It's about helping this country and moving it into the right direction. And because otherwise, we know what the other side's trying to do, and we can't let that happen.
Look, I appreciate your time. We took a little better part of an hour. Had a couple technical difficulties. Hopefully, we'll clear those out. But I do appreciate what you're doing and the fight that you're fighting. And quite frankly, we have to support you, and we have to support candidates like you that are willing to get up and stand up in the gap. We often say, why don't more business people run? Well, here's an example of a good businessman who's putting his business interests aside to run and serve as a citizen legislator. And so you're going to have our Constitutional Rights PAC support. And I'm encouraging all of our donors, either to go to your website, which is Josh Barnett for Congress, and our Barnett for AZ.com, or come to our site at constitutionalrightspac.com and contribute on Josh's page. And once you do, please also share this message, share this video with your friends. If you're in the district, let everybody in the district know that Josh has done this interview, because look, this is the kind of information that people want to make decisions on. They want to make decisions, not just with a Facebook post or something that the Arizona newspapers write about you. We want to hear from you, and I'm glad you took the time out to give us this interview. And best of luck in the campaign, and we will absolutely support you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I look forward to November 3rd.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.